So this is part two. So what I want you to do is to save the notebook under the new name. So that's what I'm going to do here. So remember, I went to File. Sorry, I went too fast there. File, Save As. Then, so I'm just going to call this part two Ladurus. So let's talk about what we're going to learn today. So by the end of the session, there's kind of three things that we're going to focus on. So we're going to actually start loading data from a spreadsheet into R as into this new kind of structure called a data frame. Once we actually do the loading, we're going to play around with the data frames. And then we're actually going to start doing something fun with the data. So we're actually going to start visualizing the numeric values in this data set. So what we have been learning to this point is called base R. So these are all things that are built into R from the basic R language. But the neat thing about R and other languages is that people can write what are called software libraries. And if someone mentions a package, it is the same thing as a software library. People use these terms interchangeably. And so the library we're going to focus on in this course is called the tidyverse. And so it's a little confusing. It's actually a bundle of libraries, but each of these libraries kind of does a different function. And I'll show you kind of there's a lot of different things that are done in the tidyverse, but it was started by Hadley Wickham at RStudio, and he very much was thinking about what are the headaches that people have with base R that are hard to, that just like, you know, you have to do it over and over again. And he was like, there must be a better way to work. So we're going to be focusing on the tidyverse. And in another lab, I'll show you how to install these software libraries. But we're in your Ready for R session, you already have tidyverse installed. And we're also going to be reading Excel files. So we also need to load up an additional library called readxl. So what we're going to do is we're going to run this code block. And it looks like nothing happened, but it did. So this is like every time I have this kind of include graphics, this is just my way of including in images. So if you just hit run current chunk, we're now on the section called importing spreadsheet style data into R. So there was a question about RStudio projects. So this is a.
There's also a question, part 2 did not load correctly.
Since this is not showing what is on your screen. So Mary, how does it look different?
Hi, Todd.
Yeah.
It's just saying that our version is and giving in our version and telling me it's the free software and everything like that. So it's like a basic.
Oh yeah. So Mary, what you need to do, remember, you need to open the part2.rmd file. So that's just a console view. So if you click on the part2.rmd file, you should be where we are.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So let me see if I can make this a little bigger because I made it. Okay, I'm just going to switch switch windows just a second. So this, I apologize. This does not look like your project completely. I built this for another class, and I didn't have time to kind of redo it for this class. But I want to kind of walk you through the idea of a projects, and kind of how you refer to file names in the project. And hopefully this will become more clear as we kind of go on. So under this, so every RStudio project lives in a folder. And in our case, in RStudio Cloud, everything that you are opening up is a project. And so the thing to note is that there's always going to be this, in a project, there's always going to be this project.rproj file. So rproj is short for our project. This is what's known as the root. So this is, you can think of the root as like your home base. This is where you always kind of start. So you can notice that we put our actual notebook, and so the notebook where we do our work is in the .rmd file. And so our notebook is in the root folder. It's not in any other folder. And once we have that, there's another file that's generated, the .nb.html file. And remember, this is like how you can kind of share your code and all of the output. The R Markdown notebook is pretty much just code and text, but this R Markdown rendered notebook file has your code, text, and plots. So this is a very handy format to kind of share with people. So the other convention that we want to, and Erin, please let me know if there's any questions as I go on. So the other thing I want you to note is that there is also a data folder in the root folder. And so the data folder, if you are in the root, like remember that's your home, that's always referred to as data/. So if you have something like, if you have data in there, and the example here is an image file, which is a .tif file. So if you wanted to refer to that in your R Markdown notebook, like, so I want to load this file. So you always have to preface it with data/image_file and the file name. So if this is a little unclear right now, we'll hopefully it'll become clear in a second. So there'll be kind of some more examples, but I wanted to take people through that. Actually, so it is 10:41 right now. So why don't we take a quick 5-minute break? Let's come back at 10:45, 10:46. Just want to make sure that everyone is kind of, I don't want to kind of wear people down. And I'm happy to answer questions during this time if you have them. Let's restart the recording. Okay, so we just talked about, oh shoot, I have to share my screen again, sorry. Okay, so now we are in the section it's right underneath where we had the graphic, and it's called a good place to put your data. So what I want you to do is I want you to take a look in your file browser to look at the data folder. So you can see that we've got two files in here. We've got smoke_complete.xlsx and tcga clinical data.xlsx. So remember, our notebook is in the root, or in the kind of the home base. So because our notebook is there, we can refer to it as data/tcga_clinical data with our file name, data.xlsx.